and festivals. I am Tanya Myers. I am the grant manager for the projects, events, and festivals for individuals. And I'll let my counterpart Lucy introduce herself.
Hi, hello everyone. I'm Lucy Hernandez, and I do organizations for project events and festivals.
Also, we have supporting us today our lovely colleagues, Robert Nunez and Daniel Pope. If you'd like to come off of mute and introduce yourselves.
Hello, I'm Danielle Pope, and I'll be working with the project events and festivals individuals.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome.
My name is Robert, the voices. Um, I'm mainly going to be helping with the individuals, but today I'm going to help a little bit with the organizations for PEF. Welcome.
Right, let's get started. So here's a overview of the agenda. So we'll do a welcome, a little bit about who we are in the commission, a little bit about the program, things that are new for FY27 before moving into the scoring criteria, the application, and then we'll break out and folks could ask specific questions in regards to individuals or organizations. You could break out into these rooms and we'll go into more detail exactly what it is that the application requires for individuals and organizations. First, we like to start with a land acknowledgement, recognizing the Nakatonic and Piscataway people, the first residents of the land that would become District of Columbia. Every community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contribute their hopes, dreams, and energy to making the history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will, some were drawn to leave their distant homes and hope for a better life, and some have lived on this land for more generations than can be counted. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. We begin this effort to acknowledge what has been buried by honoring the truth. We stand on the ancestral lands of the Nakatonic and the Piscataway people. We pay respects to their elders past and present. Please take a moment to consider the many legacies of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that brings us together here today. And please join us in uncovering such truths at any and all public events, and to use such truths to guide the legacy of the Arts Commission. The mission of the DC Commission on Arts and Humanities. First established in 1968, the DC Commission on Arts and Humanities, known as CAH, is an independent agency in the District of Columbia government as evaluates and initiates actions on matters relating to the arts and humanities and encourages programs and the development of programs that promote progress in the arts and humanities. CAH is the designated state arts agency for the District of Columbia and is supported primarily through district government funds and in part by the National Endowment for the Arts. So let's get into it. You could feel free to use the chat. Ms. Danielle Pope and Robert Nunez will be assisting and providing answers to those questions that you put in the chat. We'll be covering many of your questions today, but if you have any urgent ones, please feel free to use the chat. All right, let's go with the overview of the PEF program. We support, it provides support for executing projects that promote the arts and humanities activities to a diverse range of communities in DC. PEF encourages small, medium, and large projects that have a citywide impact, as well as those that represent community-based projects that are based in geographic locations, common interests, or a shared identity. Projects may include concerts, visual arts exhibitions, literary readings, and festivals that feature dance, folk art, film, music, theater, and other art humanities activities. The goals of this program is to provide access to high quality arts and humanities experiences for all District of Columbia residents. Increase quality of life by supporting a vibrant community identity through the arts and humanities, and to stimulate the creative economy through investments in local artists and arts and humanities organizations. So what's new for FY27? So grant categories and definitions, highlighting culture and community, as well as the criteria changes. I believe the percentages remain the same, but there were changes to the name, so we'll review those today. Artistic merit is 40%, capacity and sustainability is 30%, access and engagement 15%, and community impact has a weight of 15% as well. So going into these a little bit deeper, grant categories and definitions. So for FY27, we thought it was important to help define for the projects, events, or festivals grant program and include these three distinct grant categories: projects, events, and festivals. So applicants must select one category that best aligns with their scope, scale, and outcomes of the proposed activity. Applications will be reviewed within a category-specific track to ensure equitable evaluation. So for project, we at the district, Commission of Arts and Humanities, we see a project as a time-bound artistic and humanities initiative that produces a specific goal, outcome, or deliverable. We see an event as a single day or short duration public activity or presentation for DC residents. And we see festival as a large-scale, multi-component celebration occurring over one or more days with multiple artists, partners, or activities. So highlighting culture and community, CAH encourages all applicants to demonstrate their commitment to our community-centered framework of equality, cultural awareness, universal access, and community engagement throughout the application process. So this may include highlighting the following: addressing how the project's factors in the varying access, engagement, and economic needs of the district residents are expected to interact with the work, including plans that address fiscal, audio, visual, physical, geographical, educational, or language-based barriers, supplying evidence of community benefit, like letters of community-centered stakeholders, work samples that highlight the community's response to the work, providing examples of how the work highlights this DC's distinct historical, linguistic, and cultural makeup, and describing ways DC's unique communities will be authentically represented, positively impacted, and thoroughly celebrated through the work, along with other relevant considerations. I know that's a lot. All of this is in the RFA, but we just wanted to highlight this newness. I'm going to open it up now to see if anyone has any questions regarding the slides we've already covered. And Lucy, if you could see folks, you can let me know to move on, or if anyone has any questions. All right, I'll take that as a no.
Somebody asked to go back to the last slide.
Highlighting culture and community?
Yeah.
Is there a specific question? I know this is a lot of text on screen. All of this is in the RFA, but if there's a specific question, we could take that now.
Yeah, you can also unmute yourself as well. Okay, I see Jeremiah.
Hi there. I have a question about where we would fit in the categories between projects and events, because I play with a band called King Bullfrog, and we want to do what we're thinking about doing is a series of concerts for families, and we weren't really sure if that would be called a project, if that would sort of where it would fit in.
A series of concerts sounds like an event to me. But we can, are you an individual or an organization?
We're thinking about applying as individuals, as an
Okay,
individual. Yeah, individual. Sorry.
so if someone could put my email in the chat, Jeremiah, email me and we could set up time to chat more about your specific uh, event or project.
Awesome. That'd be great. Thank you so much.
Hi,
You're
this is
welcome.
Maisha Atrice. I just want to piggyback on that question. If he's doing a series of concerts, meaning multiple days, would it still be considered an event or does it become a project?
That could still be an event. You could have
Okay.
an event that's more than one day.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. I see Evem Gonzalez. Sorry if I said your name wrong. I don't know if they put their hand down.
Just one moment.
Oh, okay. Hello.
So for clarification, uh, our event, our event is more focused on like learning with deaf dancers. And so we would have like a variety of deaf dancers available to teach. So is that considered um a festival or an event?
That would be an event.
Yeah, I would go with the event.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, I have a question. Would a series of workshops be considered an event or something else?
Say
On
that
a
again.
particular, would a series of workshop on a particular theme that engages the DC residents be considered projects? Probably not events, which is what I'm trying to clarify, because yeah, it's basically time bound, like a workshop once a month on a particular theme and topic.
I would consider that an event if it's public facing. Um, the project might be something that's like if you're focused on creating a work of art, like a documentary or something like that, where you have like a time-bound specific goal or outcome. But it sounds like you're presenting something to the public, which I would consider an event.
Can it be a series of events?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Hi, can I ask a question as well? Because my name is Lynn and I'm from the Middle East Institute. And just listening, I was more sure at first that our project was more of a festival, but now I'm sort of hearing your guidance to some of the projects. So we have I wouldn't say it's a large scale, but we have a program that spans over 2 days that serves multiple wards in DC and has possibly more than one or two partners. And that's over 2 days. It's definitely public facing. Would that be a festival?
That's giving festival to me, but
Okay.
you can certainly connect with Lucy one-on-one and
Okay.
go more deeper dive into your specifics.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Further along in the presentation, there's a reason why there's certain requirements that like there's a difference between an event and festivals because festivals have very specific requirements as to like how it could be considered. So
So yeah, some of your questions may be answered as we go further along into the presentation. And I believe both of our emails should be in the chat. So we're happy to meet with folks one-on-one if we need to dive deeper and get into the specifics. So we make sure. And then also when we're vetting, just so you all know, when your application is submitted, we here gather together and we vet the applications and talk through them. And if for any reason we feel like you're in the wrong category, we want everyone to win. So we want to make sure that you're in the right category. So when it comes to panel, it makes sense. So I don't want anyone to get too concerned or wrapped up on whether it's a project, event, or festival. Is there more questions?
We have at least one hand raised. Shanika, I don't know if you just want to make sure. Yeah.
Hi, I had a question, but I think it's piggybacking off of the previous response. Um, I thought that that I was kind of leaning towards a festival, but then I'm also seeing that it possibly could be an event, but it's a single day idea for focusing on Pacific Islander um diaspora in terms of performances for the public. So I was just kind of curious and if possible, just to kind of meet with someone one-on-one, just to kind of get a better understanding if it's a festival or an event.
Sure, yeah, reach out to us since me for individuals and then Lucy for organizations. And then also, like I said, there are in the RFA, and I believe here in this presentation, we'll go into detail specifics for festivals, because festivals do have some specific requirements. Mandira,
Hi,
go ahead.
Tanya, thank you. I wanted to, I downloaded the PowerPoint for this workshop, but I'm seeing it's different than the one that you're presenting. The one that you're presenting is a lot more clearer. Would you be uploading this or?
Yes,
All right, thank you. That's
you're
all.
welcome. Yeah, no problem. We did make some updates. Thank you for downloading the old one. I'll make a note to make sure that this new presentation is uploaded onto our website. Okay. All right, so category-based review process. So applications, like I mentioned, will be reviewed within the category-specific review tracks to prevent inequitable comparisons across dissimilar activity types. So while all applications are evaluated using this shared scoring criteria, projects, events, and festivals will be assessed using tailored criteria appropriate to scale, complexity, and intended outcomes. So you can see here that artistic merit, we went over that, is 40%, capacity state sustainability is 30, access and engagement is 15%, and community impact is 15%. So projects are evaluated and scored against projects, likewise for events, and we try to keep festivals with festivals. I'm not going to go into too much detail in the description. All this is in the RFA, but I wanted you to just see how we break down this 40%. So 20% weight is for content quality and applicant experience. 20% is for the project team and subject matter expertise. Moving into capacity and sustainability, which is 30% whole, we take a weight of 15% for organizational oversight and financial readiness. And if you're an individual, this would be for an individual oversight and financial readiness. Project management capacity and staffing is weighted at 15%. And for access and engagement, 5% is for inclusive and diverse project design, 5% for equity, access, and participant engagement, and another 5% for responsiveness and growth. For community impact, this is all lumped into one, so district reach and public benefit. So we want to make sure that you're demonstrating the ability to reach a well-articulate number of district residents and our visitors that is proportionate to your activity scope and work. All right. Moving into the access and application, logging in, and also a reminder, all applications. This grant application closes May 22nd at 5 p.m. If you are a past applicant, you may recall that we used to have a much later timeline. I think it was 11 p.m., but the application closes at 5 p.m. on that day.
Okay, I can take over. Okay. Hi everyone. Just going on about like how do you find the how do you find our application? So the first thing that you have to do is to make sure that you're going through to get to the grants portal, which we now are going through Submittable instead of our old grants portal, which used to be called Jungle Lasers, but we always called it the grants portal. But you would have to go through our website. You go to the tab that says programs, and then you would select the one that says grants. And it's our website is dcarts.dc.gov. Going on to the next slide. Tanya. Okay. Cool. Okay. So then once we get to this page, you scroll all the way down and then use the link that says grants application portal submittable. If you attempt to do it from our old grants portal, we will not qualify that. And also the application isn't there. So please, as a reminder, you would have to go through submittable. So like once you press the link, it should take you to the CAH submittable platform. Next slide, please. It should take you to the so it should take you to the to our grant application portal, and you would either select project events and festivals as an individual or project events and festivals as an organization. Okay, so now going on a little bit about writing tips. Next slide, please. So we have a few we have a few PEF application writing tips. Some of them are to keep a copy of the scoring criteria nearby while you're writing, and it will help you write. Please avoid buzzwords and hyperbole only because it is easier for panelists who who don't know your organization to be able to actively read it, and it makes it a little bit easier for the panelists as well. So if claims are made in the application, please back them up with support materials and work samples. Um, Ask someone outside of the organization to read the narrative responses and give you feedback. Give a complete picture of yourself or organization and its work, and use accurate data in your application when available and where appropriate. Next slide, please. Now we're going to go on a little bit about the required documents. Next slide, please. So for documents of all kind, please save and upload in the PDF as a PDF file. So uploads to support your narrative. So one of them would be work samples, and the work samples must contain the clear depiction of the applicant's best works of art and or humanities. Applicants must submit arts and or humanities work samples. Must be no more than 3 years old from the date of submission. Submitting older work samples may render your application ineligible for funding consideration. And please refer to the RFA for any additional details. Next slide, please. And now going on to support materials. So for the documents, what support materials are documents that strengthen the application and provide additional information that directly relates to the grant request. Support materials do not take the place of a work sample, so you can submit up to 3 internally produced items. Examples of this are strategic plans, marketing materials. You can also upload up to 3 externally produced items. Examples of these are reviews, testimonials, letters of support, etc. And then again, please refer to the RFA for full details. Going on to what the work sample content is. Just a little bit of information when it comes to the panels, which is panelists review only the 4 corners of the application. They are not expected to click on any outside links or content. A linked website may not be seen, may or may not be seen by the reviewers. Websites on our social media posts can be screenshot and attached as an image, but is often an insufficient work sample. Submit a website only if it is an essential part of your project. Next slide. So then going on a little bit about grant manager tips. So again, when it comes to work samples and uploads, review panelists are required to review each applicant's work samples. However, they are not guaranteed to review work samples beyond the recommended number. So please make sure that the work samples that you're providing are sufficient enough. Clearly name, label, and or describe work samples and documents so that the panelists can identify what they are reviewing. Give reviewers the information that they need to best understand your work sample or support material. Include examples of similar projects completed to illustrate an ability to execute the proposed project. Next slide, please. Again, we have more additional suggestions. Applicants should be able to review and or play all the work samples in the application before submitting. If a sample cannot be played, then the panelists will experience the same. Select recent high quality samples that relate as directly to the application as possible. Adding more than the recommended number of work samples to the application will often weaken it. Carefully chosen work samples, pictures, videos, excerpts, etc., tend to make the biggest impact and create the strongest artistic impression. Panelists must be able to assess the skill level of the artists involved in the project work to be created, exhibited, or taught. Next slide, please. And then going on to audio submissions, audio files only play from start to finish. Panelists aren't able to scan, rewind, or skip through uploaded audio files for best results. Edit the audio clip to feature exactly what you want the panelists to review. You can use the video options for audio files. And for audio submissions with visual components, consider submitting as a video clip instead. And then going on to video submissions, video size is limited to 430 MB. Highly edited promotional videos are not recommended work samples. Submit the highest quality video sample that you can. Good lighting, stable video, clear images, and clear sound. For video examples longer than 5 minutes, please direct the review panelists to the section of the video that you want them to see by utilizing the embedded time code for the video where you want them to begin. Next slide, please. And then going on to screenshots, screen capture for online content. There are keyboard shortcuts on PCs, MacBooks, and Chromebooks for taking a screenshot. Save the screenshot as a PDF or a JPEG, but then after JPEG, you would have to convert it into a PDF depending on the selection, depending on where you're uploading it on Submittable. The Snip and Stitch app is another option for capturing online content. Download any online reviews, articles, or programs and save it as a PDF. Going on to the next. Okay. Does anybody have any questions before we go into the breakout sessions? Ms. Pope, I see that you have your hand raised.
Yes. You mentioned that adding more than the work samples require. You said that will weaken the application. And just from my experience, panelists will see that as someone that can't follow directions. So for them, that would not be a plus. So I would suggest, when you're uploading your work samples, I believe you have 10 that you can upload. Going beyond that is not going to help in the decision.
That is very true. Okay, I see that Maisha, hopefully I'm saying your name correctly. Maisha Treese.
Almost, Lucy, very close. It's just
I almost
Maisha.
had it.
You did very close. Maisha. Maisha is the girl from middle school who got on my nerves, so we're not gonna say Maisha. Anyway,
You know what? You're right.
thank you. I'm curious about. Oh no, I just lost my train of thought. I'm gonna come back. I lost it.
Okay, no, that's fine. Does anybody have any other questions? Because I know I just went through a lot about the different suggestions. and such, to give other people time to also come up. Just giving you a little bit of a review of how how the rest of the session is going to go. So we're going to go into two different breakout sessions. One would be for individuals because there are requirements that are only for individuals and only for organizations. Once we get to once we get into our breakout sessions, then basically it's very specific to your organization. So if you are considering, if you don't know if you want to apply as an individual or organization, you can also review the session that will be recorded today would be for the individuals. You can also go back to our YouTube channel and you can see the workshop for from last week, which was recorded for organizations. Sorry, that was a mouthful. And Tanya, can you go back to the last 2 to 3 slides?
Thank you. I remember now. Okay, so there was a video of one of my last performances, and the editor got very excited and made it look very fancy for YouTube. So it kind of looks like commercial, but the most important part is that there are attendees who were at the performance who are speaking to their experience. And so I'm curious if I should still consider submitting that or if I should consider something else.
Are you applying as an individual or organization?
Individual.
Okay. I would suggest you talking to Tanya, and you can probably send her the work sample to see how it looks.
Okay, that's
Because
helpful.
from what I'm hearing, it should be fine to submit as a work sample, but just to cover your base.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and Mike.
Just a quick technical question on the portal. In the supporting materials, it says you may upload 3 internal or 3 external. I understand the difference between them. When we submitted our last grant, um, you can only submit a total of 3. Is that correct? We weren't able to submit 3. We could only submit a total of 3, not 3 external and 3 internal. Or did I do that wrong?
It depends on what the requirements were for a cap like I'm assuming if I remember correctly, you apply for capacity building.
That is correct.
Um, and I know that for the PEF application, there was that issue where you could only submit 3, but we expanded it so you can submit up to 6. But we are looking at it to make sure that it's only 3 of each, and you're not doing like 4 of an external and then 2 internal.
Understood. It didn't really affect that application, but I'm not sure what materials will support for this, so I wanted to ask the question now.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, I will fix that, Jeremiah. And and if you're referring to which slides that you want us to go back to, can you please tell us like the idea of it? Because I see the Sarah put, can you go back a couple slides? I'm not okay, the visual work. Okay.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out my question and I tried to look it up and the discrepancy between the PDF here that you're showing and the one on the website, it didn't cover it. So it was just a question, I think generally vaguely about if you're a first time applicant towards these and you don't necessarily have like an example of, let's say, an installation or a performance, but you have sort of things surrounding it. Is that sufficient? Or how would you recommend someone who's applying with sort of a fleshed out idea that takes in various components of a practice or for a project? Does that make sense?
No, it does. I think there's many ways that you can approach it. The one that comes up to me right now would be because you're saying this is a new idea, this is a new concept, but you're basically saying that you have experience in in other sections that accumulate
Various
or
aspects of it that would be part of what it is.
so I would describe that
Okay, thank you.
and then provide support to that material that you're doing. and then justify, and then you would have to like justify it in the application, like, well, I don't have experience for this, but this is what I do know, this is what like I'm planning to do. You can also use the application to flesh that idea out as well. It really I've always recommend talking to the grant managers just because we can provide a little bit more information one-on-one.
Sort of this is how it all comes together.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
And also, when you were talking, I thought of a lot of times people are engaging with other artists in the district. So maybe you don't have that skill set, but you're bringing someone on who does. So that's just another thought. But definitely reach out to us and schedule time to discuss further.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, before we go out into our breakout sessions, any pressing questions? If not, you can always ask them in the when we go into the breakout sessions as well. Just okay. So just going to try to make it as painless as possible, but I know it does make it a little bit painful. Is can anybody who can raise if you can raise your hand if you are an organization, if you're applying as an organization, so I can send you out of this session and go into a different breakout room while the individuals will stay here.
If we're unsure, what should we do?
If you are unsure, I would recommend the to go for
Hang out with us.
yeah.
You know, if you don't belong here, then we'll put you where you need to be.
I was going to say the opposite. I was going to say go to orgs because I feel like organizations have a lot more stipulations than individuals, but whichever way you decide, just know that we will have recordings for the individuals as well as the organizations on our YouTube channel soon enough. After today's meeting, both will live on our YouTube channel.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and then I am still adding people. Alexis. Okay. Are there any other organizations here that I have not added? Da-da-da.
Hi, I had a question. I was told last time I came in person to a grant event that because I'm a PG resident, to apply for a DC grant, I would need to do it through an organization. So I'm wondering if I need to go to the organization and talk, or it's best to stay an individual for right now.
If you are an individual and you're not a DC resident, you would not be able to apply for this individual grant. So I would not stay here. I would go to the individual, to the organizations if that's the route you're trying to take.
Okay, perfect. Then I'll
Then,
switch.
yeah, go ahead and raise your hand. So Lucy, Brianna, Bush, you could take her into the breakout room, please.
Okay, any other person before I leave as well? Okay.
Thanks, Lucy. All right. Hello, individuals. I apologize. I can't see everyone, but with the help of Miss Pope, she'll let me know if anyone has their hand up or any questions that people may have. You could wait to the end or simply put them in the chat and Miss Pope will do her best to answer them during the presentation. So welcome to the individual side of this project's events. And festivals. This is a lot of words on screen, but I just wanted to go through the eligibility for individuals. So you can apply as long as you meet all of the below. So you're an artist, an arts professional, and or humanities practitioner, at least 18 years or older. You're a DC resident and you have been one for at least 1 year prior to the submission deadline. So May 22nd, 2025 or previous. You have a permanent DC address as listed on government issued ID or tax returns. PO boxes may not be used as a permanent address. If you're experiencing homelessness, you could certainly contact me and we will discuss ways around this eligibility criteria. You maintain your DC residency during the entire period. So from October 2026 through September 2027 is our FY27 fiscal year. Your proposed planning or implementation is fully carried out through the District of Columbia. So your event, your project, or your festival takes place and is carried out in DC. You must be in good standing with the Commission on Arts and Humanities, including but not limited to reporting criteria and requirements. You're current on all taxes and liabilities owed to DC or have an approved plan to resolve such taxes and liabilities. We request a citywide certificate of clean hands through the DC Tax of Office and Revenue. So if you we do this, we want to make sure that you're up to date. Otherwise, the district is going to make sure they have their funds. So even if you receive a grant and then you owe the city some money, they're going to take that out of your grant funds. Where are we? So an individual, you don't have any kind of affiliation with an arts organization funded by projects, a part of this. So if you're applying as an individual, but say you work at an arts organization, you can't apply as an individual and use that work for your work at that organization. If you have any further clarifying things you need, just simply reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any one-on-one questions. All right, so festival eligibility for individuals. So individuals may apply if you meet all of the following. So your anticipated festival numbers must align with the district mandated guidelines for public gatherings. So a minimum of 6 hours of the festival must be dedicated to artistic programming. Your festival events programs must be publicly advertised and open to the general public. The festival may not look or be a block party, a fundraiser, or charity benefit. Funding may be used for project expenses only, which includes support for salaries and operations directly related to the festival's events and programs. Funding may not be used for food, beverages, capital costs, building renovations or improvements, cash prizes, gifts, security, items for sale, such as t-shirts or posters, or an organization's operational costs associated with administrative fees. So equipment, office supplies, anything like that. And all festivals must comply with DC permits, policies, and safety. All right, so for project events or festivals, ineligibility. So the opposite, you are ineligible if you are employed by the Commission on Arts and Humanities within the last 3 years. Applicants are prohibited from submitting a PEF application for projects that feature temporary or permanent public arts projects. We do have grants for public arts, and that's run through a different division here at the commission. If you need those contacts, just email me and I could lead you in the right direction. So applicants are prohibited from submitting PEF applications for projects that provide activities solely for children or youth. Similarly, with the public arts one, we have grants that are specific for education. And so I will put you in contact with the grant manager for arts ed. Obviously, your project event or festival can include children. We want everyone to be involved, but it can't solely be towards children. Um, Eligible projects by individuals must work independently of the applicant's affiliated organization. Individuals who are on staff of a nonprofit organization may not apply for funding for projects that are part of the organization's programming. Individuals who are staff or proprietors of a for-profit company may not apply for funding for projects that are a product or service of that company. Individuals applying with an EIN. This is an individual grant, so all of your documents from your W-9 to your certificate of clean hands, all must use your social security number, not your LLC or EIN. That also is the case for certificate of liability. You would need to receive certificate of liability in your own individual person. So individuals who use or require fiscal agents are not eligible. Prospective applicants debarred from procurements by the federal government, the government of DC, or any government entity are ineligible. All right, on to mandatory documents. So if you've seen the RFA, you've seen this list, but love to go into a little bit more detail. So obviously we've talked about these work samples and support materials. Resumes, so you could also use an artist statement for key personnel. So we could see your resume. If you're partnering with other individuals, other artists, you could also include their resumes. We also want to see your proof of residency. So this is your valid driver's license, a DC residency ID, or two other documents showing proof. So either one license or ID or two other forms of proof of residency. We also ask for a budget form. So this just details your financial analysis. This is obviously a kind of summary or your best guess of how your grants will be spent if you were awarded this grant. Certificate of clean hands. So there are details on how to pull the certificate of clean hands after this slide. And we ask that it be issued within 30 days of your application. We do not want this to be the reason why you do not hit submit. So if you have problems getting your certificate of clean hands, please reach out to me. I do not want that to limit anyone from moving forward with this process because, we do have time from the time of submission through the time of award that many folks will work out whatever issues they're having with the monies owed to the district. Another document that we ask for is a statement of certification. That's an internal document that we ask you to sign. And moving on, the W-9. So again, post office boxes are prohibited. You would use your social security number, not your LLC EIN number. Certificate of liability insurance. This is another thing that gets people. We do not request that you have your liability insurance at time of application. That's not necessarily. But what we do ask for is just a document showing that you have reached out and you're getting a quote. So we need at least a quote of your liability insurance. If you have any questions, we're going to review exactly what that looks like in the next few slides, but you could drop them in the chat or certainly reach out to me if you have questions about certificate of liability insurance. Also, I want to say with that, for that insurance, it would be just you could do it for the whole year. It depends, I guess, on how much folks charge for insurance. It could be, covering the time of the grant period. So from October 2026 through September 2027, or if you know the date of your event or project or festival, it could be for that specific date. It's totally up to you. And then the last thing we ask for is a letter of project site agreement or site plan. This is required for any project, event, or festival that anticipates a physical audience. We will also accept if you don't have a letter right now, or if you don't know where your event or project or festival will take place, no problem. We will also take a written or draft of a site proposal. All right, costs for individuals. So these are examples of allowable costs related to your grant. So you could use the grant for salaries for artists and humanities professionals, for nonprofit organizations, well, your individual. So for yourself or any artist that you bring on to help you make this event or project or festival happen. Also, you could use the funds for artists, humanities practitioners or consultants, for space rental and fees directly related to the project implementation, any travel or transportation directly related to the project implementation, materials, supplies, and equipment purchases that are no more than 25% of the award and are directly related to the work on the project, event, or festival. Overhead, maintenance, and administration costs cannot exceed 25% of the grant award. So here are some unallowable costs. You cannot use the grant funds for food and beverage, fundraiser, tuition, and scholarships, expenses associated with the individual or organization assuming the role of fiscal agent, costs related to fundraisers and special events, debt reduction, expenses unrelated to the execution of the scope of the work, operational reserve, temporary or permanent public arts projects, activities solely for youth, re-granting, also known as sub-granting, funding to universities, foreign governors, or DC government agencies. The grantee will be responsible for demonstrating expenses as applicable. We request interim or final reports. Since you're individuals, you would need a final report only, not an interim report, just because it's the amount that we give out to individuals. All right, so this is what the budget form looks like. And so when you submit this budget form, you would fill out the highlighted areas. So your name, the grant number, and your grant amount. And then you would also put in that second session, because your award as an individual is less than 12,500, you would report all of your expenses in that second box. And you would add the total. If you have other expenses, you could see in that right side column, there's a description for others. And then you would put your grant name, signature, and date. Moving on to certificate of clean hands. Like I said, we like to have it dated no more than 30 days prior to the application deadline. In order to get your clean hands, you would just go to mytax.dc.gov. You could download a PDF of the certificate. If you have any issues, you could always email cleanhands.cert@dc.gov. They're really easy to work with and get back to you pretty quickly. Again, this is something that we will take, even just if you're having issues pulling your clean hands, if you could just get a screenshot and upload that. We just want to see that there's some effort. You don't need to have this completely a certificate of clean hands at the time of application, but we must receive one if you are awarded a grant. And just so you know that you need to keep this up to date, because we are required, because you're receiving money, the government requires us to pull this multiple times throughout the process up until the time that you receive your grant funds. I'm going to keep going, and if everyone can save their questions to the end, we could always go back to the screen if you have specific questions about anything, but I'm going to keep moving on. So this is what the certificate of clean hands looks like. You'll have this notice number. Again, you would go to mytaxdc.dc.gov and click on validate a certificate of clean hands. This is what that statement of certification looks like that I told you about. It's a simple document where you just would put your name, your address. You would mark off individual, since this is an individual grant. The grant program would be FY27 PEFI, and then you would complete the other section if you're allowing any other individuals, if you want anyone to be reached other than yourself.
Tanya, we have a couple of hands raised.
I'm gonna keep going and then I'll go get into
Go back.
questions
Okay.
at the end. Yes.
Okay.
And so this is the bottom, the second part of that statement of certification, simply just your name and signature. So this can't, in this area, it cannot be a script font. You know how like Word oftentimes allows you to have a fancy font. It would need to be your actual signature typed in. You could also use a PDF and have a timestamp. And then all of your information, your name and your address must match on all documents. So your W-9, your statement of certification, as well as your tax documents, all must have the same name and address. So certificate of liability insurance. So your name on your insurance must be your name, not your business or any org that you work for. We require that the description of operations must be checked off, and the government of District of Columbia and its officers, employees, agents, and volunteers as needed will be listed as an additional insured. We ask that you have a written waiver of subrogation. I know this language is foreign to us common folk, but when you reach out to insurance companies, they're very clear and aware of what it is that we need. So if you just let them know that you need a written waiver of subrogation that lists the District of Columbia. And then at the bottom here, the certificate holder should also include the District of Columbia. This way, if something happens, the district and the commission are not liable. For your W-9 form, you could get this online. There is a link on our website. Just make sure that it says the March 2024 version. That's the latest version. You would complete this with your personal name. You would check off individual, since this is an individual grant. Your address, again, must be a DC address and must match all of your other documents. And you would put in your social security number, not your EIN. Sorry, this is from the organization. So I will update this slide, but this should be your social security number, not the EIN. And then you would simply sign it and put today's date. Again, there's fillable PDF version at dcarts.dc.gov. All right, I'm going to take some questions now before we move on. I see Jeremiah.
Hi, thanks, Tanya. Two quick questions. One is, would the cost of the insurance we get for what we'd be working on count as overhead?
Yes, you could use the funds from the grant to pay for that insurance.
Cool. And the second question is, if we want to work with some folks who are not DC residents, but say live in Maryland, are we able to pay them for their artistic services as like?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I see Joy Jones.
Yes, I also have a budget related question. Is there a golden ratio of funds that we might provide, such as self-funding versus grant funds?
No, but we just want to make sure that those do not exceed the 25%. So you can pay
Okay.
yourself up to that 25%.
I'm sorry, I wasn't asking
Oh.
about pay. I was more asking, so if I'm self-funding, I'm not anticipating that this grant will cover
Oh,
the
got you.
expenses. If I'm making a film, very specifically, I'm not assuming that the grant would cover the production costs. So I was just trying to figure out where to describe or demonstrate that I would be providing funds for production in addition to any potential grant funds.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good question. So a lot of times the limitations of this grant and the limitations of the budget that we're able to provide grants, I know that do not cover a lot of folks' projects, events, or festivals. But I think that's where you put in the scope where you see this fund. So if you're asking for the max of 10,000, you would just detail what portion you see this grant money going towards, and then you would use that same whatever you said in the application.
Mhm.
That's what you would just list on the grant
Okay.
budget form.
Great. If I have more detail, I'll ask more granular questions later. Thank you.
You're welcome. I see Charlia. I'm sorry if I didn't say your name right.
Oh, no, you're fine. I think my question was similar. If I know that the grant would not cover the full extent of a project, to just like I should describe the entire project, but in the
Yes.
budgetary narrative, outline what the grant funds, what portion of it the grant funds would be used for. Okay.
Yes, it's definitely important for the application portion to detail your entire scope of the work or the project or your planned outcomes. And then when it comes to the budget, and even inside that application, you could detail these 10,000 or the 5,000 or whatever you're asking for would go specifically to these areas and then detail that on the budget form only.
Okay, that's
Yeah, there's
helpful.
no need on the budget form to talk about your match.
Okay. And then another question. I know that this grant is not applicable for public um art. And so is I was at the library and I am looking for venues for like an exhibition event. So if is the library considered public art if that was a venue?
Oh
Like
no,
it's
it's just about your the project can be live in the public, like you can't have public art as being your project. So if your project or your event is like public art, this isn't the grant for you, but you can certainly have your event in public spaces like a library.
okay. I just wanted to clarify because I when I went to their website to look at venues, it was called like public art and exhibit. So
Oh,
I was
okay.
like,
Yeah,
I
no,
don't know if that
sorry. That
means
would be totally fine. We have a lot of folks that have things executed in the libraries.
okay, awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. I see Kimberly Ross.
Hi, good morning. So good to see you. My question was similar, um, but it's sort of regarding the ineligibility
Okay.
regarding government agencies. So, could I rent a government space, like one of the Smithsonian museums or one of the parks that's under the National Park Service? Could I do that for a project or an event?
Yes, you could
Okay.
certainly rent those spaces.
Okay, and so part two of that, and I'm thinking, I'm hoping this that's the same answer, is fees to the government agency, because I think it said in some of the ineligible expenses. So that rental fee would be going to that government, local or federal agency. Would that be allowed?
Yes, so this we mean as far as like the grants, like you're not paying, like if you're paying for space for your project or your event or festival, you could pay whoever. I think maybe you're confusing. Like we just don't want you to pay for send a check to a university or to a government agency. Like you're renting space, so it's like something to do with your project.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Uh, Avem Gonzalez.
Lou, so I just wanted some clarification on like the expenses part. So uh I can pay like us DC's dance teachers using the grant,
Yes.
but like to support like some of our school organizations that would help our event, I can't use the money for them because they'd probably use it for food or something like that.
Um,
Now you
Like
can't.
during the event, they would probably like sell they'd probably be the people responsible for offering refreshments like water and stuff as the people are going from one dance event to another dance event.
so
So
were you paying them for their dance contribution to your project or your event?
the dance teachers, yes. But the school organizations, they're more, I was going to pay them for their help to set up the event or be part of the event.
You
Yeah.
can pay for the dancers,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, There, you may have other people that can provide the food, but we're not paying for the food.
Okay.
We're just paying for you. You're paying your dancers, people, whoever is performing at your event. You can pay them.
Yeah, and then it's like almost like whatever they use those funds for, they use the funds for, but you can't show on your budget that $100 or whatever was allotted for food and beverage.
And then I also my I'm planning to have an addition of that because I remember that part of this is humanitarian or humanities.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And so I was curious if I could pay the sign language instructors as well using the grant because that's part of uh interpreting in ASL as part of humanitarian. And I
Yes.
wanted to just offer people, especially in the DC community, the opportunity to learn tactile language, which is for deaf and blind people. So would I be able to use that money to fund that type of part of the event?
Yes.
Okay, she said yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. I can't see any other hands. Miss Pope, do you see any other hands?
Uh, no, I don't. I do want to make something clear concerning the certificate of insurance. Jeremiah asked about could the funds be used to pay for the insurance? It can, but it would be in terms of you being reimbursed because the insurance needs to be paid for before funds are even distributed. So now, if you pay for the insurance out of your pocket, then should you be awarded, then you can reimburse yourself that amount of money. But um, it would still have to be an upfront cost
Got
before you even get funds.
it. Okay. So you'd find out if you were awarded, then you pay for the insurance, and then eventually, and then you get reimbursed for it.
Correct.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, so no one needs to pay for insurance at this time before application. You could show, and we do ask for documentation, and in that documentation, we want to see a quote from an insurance company. And then and if you are awarded, then we would ask for that document with all of these details.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Pope.
Mhm.
All right, so I think we can move on. Oops, we were back here. Okay, so good segue. So what's mandatory post-award documents? So the budget form at that time would show detailed analysis of how you plan to spend the grant funds. And then we would use that as well as your supporting documents as far as like how you paid and if it changed, maybe for example, you asked for 10,000 and this budget form that you complete is for that amount. Well, then we fast forward and you receive 8,000. You would then just update your budget form at that time and make those adjustments. We'll also ask for a final report. So all grantees are required to submit to the Commission on Arts and Humanities a final report in October of 2027 regarding the extent to which you met your grant award related and your project goals, the level which you funded your projects, the events or festivals, and these activities, what growth was made and advancing the practices of equity with internal and external stakeholders. That's when you would show and provide receipts for all of these funds in that final report. The certificate of clean hands, we will require in order for you to get paid, you must show a certificate of clean hands. And like I said, this will be pulled throughout the grant process. So be sure that you keep that up to date and compliant. The letter of project site agreement. So while you don't need to have the document at the time of application, it will be required for any project, event, or festival that has any kind of physical audience. If a formal letter of project site agreement is not yet available, again, no worries at this time. Also want to mention the DIFS system. It's the District Integrated Financial System. You would need to register here. All new applicants should register as an individual, and any returning applicants should verify that your account is up to date and is active. All right, so just some tips. So for the statement of certification, please do fill this out. Every year we ask for this document. We ask that you do not just reuse an old file. We would like to see that FY27 PEFI on that document. Your e-signature, investigate available tools to sign. You could use DocuSign, Adobe, or freehand, and just scan it into us. The certificate of insurance, we ask that you provide all the necessary language and placement required by DC. You could send it to your insurance representative to demonstrate exactly what it is that you need. So you could take this screenshot from this, or we could send you a clean one. I'm happy to send you a clean one just to show your insurance company what it is that you need so you get an accurate quote. Their certificate of clean hands. Again, we're required to check this multiple times throughout the grant cycle. This hiccups a lot of people and really delays payment for some folks. That's why we keep reiterating how important it is. You could easily just, if you have any problems pulling this document, just simply email the cleanhands.cert@dc.gov. For PDFs, upload documents as PDFs. There's scanning apps, a notes app on iPhones allow you to scan and save images as PDFs. There are also free online tools to converting JPEGs and other files into PDFs. If you have any issues, please reach out to myself or Ms. Pope. We really don't want to create barriers for submitting your application. And then I want to open it up for any other questions folks may have. So here are the dates. We have live chats on Fridays. These are just a time, they're very informal. A bunch of grant managers from different grant lines sit on a Zoom call, and folks can just come into the room, ask their question and leave, or come and hang out, hear other people's questions. But this is just an open forum. If while you're completing your application, you have a question, feel free to hop online onto this Zoom. The next one will be this Friday, 1:30 to 2:30. Also, we need grant panelists, and I know you're interested in applying to projects, events, or festivals for individuals, but you can certainly be a panelist for any other grant line. So, what it is to be a grant panelist. So you attend a virtual training or review a training video. That's about 60 to 90 minutes of material. You review assigned applications, work samples, evaluations thoroughly prior to attending your panel meeting. You make objective assessments based on funding policies, grant guidelines, and application evaluation criteria. And decisions should be free of bias and not self-serving. You attend a day-long, it's about 4 hours of a panel meeting to review and rescore all of your assigned applications. The commission maintains a database to help identify and select panelists. Panelist applicant information is used solely for statistical and diversity inclusion purposes and is not shared with any third parties. Inclusion is this database. It does not guarantee selection for a panel service. We do provide, because of your commitment, we do provide a $250 gift card. We really love the help of the community because this is what we do this work for. We don't want to be the ones picking and choosing. We really look to the public. And this also helps you as an applicant to see what happens on the other side. So the time commitment for this, it would be about 3 to 4 weeks of review. So you have maybe 25 applications and you have about 3 to 4 weeks to review those 25 applications. And then you do a pre-panel. That could be like virtual, sorry, not in person, but virtual, or maybe a video that you look over. And then the meetings last about 4 hours. I haven't had one that lasts 7 hours yet. So, and then panelists are appointed to one or more depending on our need. And again, the compensation is a $250 gift card. So the most important, the grant application closes May 22nd at 5 p.m. Incomplete or late applications or applications that do not follow the instructions and guidelines may be deemed ineligible for review and funding. Prospective applicants should read through the RFA completely before submitting the application. Applicants must be up to date with reporting requirements for prior grants. If you're not sure if your reporting status, you could always reach out to your grant manager. Applications are reviewed and scored by a panel of community as well as arts professionals. The awards amount vary depending on the funding that the commission has to allocate to the grants. All right, so this page just notes that I am here for you. If you have any questions, please email me. Happy to hop on a phone call and talk through any questions that you have pertaining to your application. Or I know there was a lot of questions in the beginning of this workshop on maybe where you fit in, if you're an event or a project or a festival. We're happy to help and support you. And then this just gives you an overview of who to contact. And I will open it up one last time. Thank you so much for being here and joining us today and taking out time to make sure that your applications are the best they can be. Do we have any questions before we let you go and enjoy the rest of your afternoon? All right, with that, if there are no more questions, thank you all for your time. And I look forward to talking to some of you and reading over your applications.
One question, Tanya, if I
Yes.
may. So if we want to schedule an appointment with you to review our application, we can send you an email
Yes.
and go from there. All
Yeah.
right. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, and I know there was some questions about maybe work samples or support samples. I'm happy to just look at, be a second set of eyes. As you can imagine, I'm getting a lot of requests, so the sooner the better. All right, well, with that, thank you so much. I'm going to stop sharing. Thank you all for your time today, and I look forward to